we have a new bald-tard bozo on the circuit, Aedric, April 11th, 2020.
The whole thing is really in affirming the consequent formological fallacy in itself.
What, you're prepared to say that before you know anything about how they work?
No, I do know how they work. I just told you, I've been researching them for months.
How is it in affirming the consequent?
Well, here's the argument as I understand it. If the Earth is a globe, an EQ mount will track an object across the sky from horizon to horizon using only one axis of rotation. It does that, therefore the Earth is a globe. That's not the only conclusion you can draw from the results of using an EQ mount, correct?
Brandon, Brandon, the problem with doing it that way, and this is a Nathan Oakley exercise all the time. You could just as accurately say, if an EQ mount will follow, a celestial body across the sky from horizon to horizon, then the Earth is a globe, right? You just transpose your P and your Q arguments, and then it's not an affirming the consequent, which is a fallacy. It's an affirming the antecedent or remote opponents, which is a valid argument. Okay.
So restate the argument for me in the way that you'd say it.
Your argument was, if the Earth is a globe, then EQ mounts work in X fashion, right? EQ mounts work in X fashion, therefore the Earth is a globe. Now you're right, that's an affirming the consequent fallacy, right? But you could equally say, if you transpose the propositions, you could equally say, if an EQ mount works in X fashion, then the Earth is a globe. An EQ mount works in X fashion, therefore the Earth is a globe. Now that's not a fallacy.
Ay, caramba!
Really? So according to you, to save a train wreck formal logical fallacy, you just flip the P's and Q's and voila, Bob's your uncle, right? Great job. Now that you saved the formal, we can now check for soundness, right? Tell him what he's won, Johnny. Number 1, an informal logical fallacy called begging the question. Assuming the very thing you're attempting to prove with your EQ mount, it's a sphere fiasco. And number 2, a non sequitur fallacy. Because nobody with a competent faculty of reasoning skills would clumsily attempt to appeal to the motion of a man-made object, tracking the motion of celestial objects, to validate what they're standing on. It's tantamount to attempting to discern the shape of Cassiopeia by tracking how a motion-sensitive camera surveils a friggin' mud bog. You're an imbecile!
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
You got to be careful. I mean, an example commonly used is, to try and make it obvious, if you cut a person's head off, they will die, right? I cut the person's head off, therefore they're dead, right? But the problem is, look at line 1. If you cut a person's head off, they will die. That's not a factual statement.
Oh, yeah!
Are you serious? Just a flesh wound. I'm invincible! I'll bite your legs off!
Ya headless bozo.
Well, it's not an argument. I mean, we can show you pictures showing you exactly how they work. I mean, look, Brandon, you've got to understand the only explanations, those of us who've been doing this for a little while, the only explanations we get to the South Celestial Pole problem are either, I don't know what the nature of the stars are, they're celestial, something or others, or personal dome arguments, which are ludicrous. I know you're saying you don't have an explanation, but none of us have ever heard an explanation for the South Celestial Pole.
Oh, really? So we have 3 anecdotal fallacies, which are straw man fallacies, And I have an explanation to your conjured South Celestial Pole problem. From Cornell University, there is no South Star. It's just a coincidence that there happens to be a bright star, Polaris, close to the celestial North Pole. The southern hemisphere isn't so lucky. The only star that comes close is Sigma Octans, which is 1 degree away from the South Celestial Pole, but it's only a 6th magnitude, too dim to see at all except under optimal conditions. And from the 1 Minute Astronomer, Dr. Brian Ventrudo, in the northern hemisphere, the bright and easy to find star Polaris marks the position of the northern celestial pole. This makes it easy for stargazers and navigators to find north and get orientated in the night sky. But in the southern hemisphere, it is different. By sheer bad luck, the South Celestial Pole, the imaginary point in the sky, directly above the Earth's south pole, coincides with no bright stars, and the southern polar sky has few other guides to find the pole. So,
you dumbass,
your conjured South Celestial Pole problem is your problem because it's in your imagination. You're a bozo.
The other circular argument, the other explanation we get is the world's worst circular argument. The Earth is flat, it works, therefore that's how it works. You know what I mean? It must work because the Earth is flat.
Are you serious?
Yes. Did you query preschoolers for your 4th anecdotal belly-laughing straw man fallacy here? Headless bozo, perhaps you should consider returning post-haste to your cake decorating and whose favorite color is the best forms to ply your wares, son. You're a retard.
Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night. The party